Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about books. Most of you probably don't know, because my channel isn't that big and I'm not that popular, you probably don't know that I'm actually an author myself. My book The Seven was published in 2019 and I've been trying to work on another book since then, but writing is hard. But just to clarify, that this video is coming from the perspective of an amateur author, and an actual amateur author with published work. Not that that really means anything, because someone who's not published their opinions mean the same thing, but just to give a little background on where I'm coming from on this and where I stand. What I want to talk about is fan fictions becoming movies and books of their own, and why it doesn't work. Of course, the first example that's going to pop into people's heads when you say about fan fiction turning it into books or movies, you're going to think of 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey was written by E.L. James, and she based it off a fan fiction she wrote for the Twilight Saga. And we all know how terrible 50 Shades of Grey is, and if you don't, I don't... It's great that you can enjoy stuff like that. I wish I was that easy to please. It is a prime example of fan fiction not working, and it's the initial thing people will think about every single time when you mention fan fiction being made into movies. Now, there's nothing wrong with fan fiction initially. I used to write a lot of fan fiction myself. All of it was trash. All of it was terrible. But I did write it, and this is also coming from the point of view not just as an author, but from the perspective of someone who wrote fanfiction and was in the throes of the fanfiction universe when she was a teenager. And a lot of fanfiction is good. There's great fanfictions out there that, even though they use the characters from another medium, they are still able to create these brilliant stories, and sometimes they just need the names of the characters to be able to weave that story. And there are genuinely fanfiction authors out there who I think would be capable of writing fantastic books. But they are never the ones who get the attention that comes with getting a movie or getting a book deal. We get trash like 50 Shades of Grey. An example that's probably not as popular, it's more popular in the teen kind of circles, is After. After was written on Wattpad by a writer called Anna Todd, and it is a Harry Styles fanfiction, and Anna Todd got a book deal from writing these on Wattpad because they were so popular. And obviously she had to change the name of the male love interest, because I don't think Harry Styles would have signed off on being written into a book series that way. And when I was a writer, fanfiction was just fanfiction. Wattpad, every so often there was a gem, there's a diamond in the rough, but they're very hard to find. It is amongst like heaps and heaps of celebrity fanfictions and fanfictions for Twilight, Hunger Games, Doctor Who, Harry Potter, and you have to dig through it all to get to something good. And the interesting thing about Wattpad is that you can also write original stories on it, whereas on fanfiction.net, AO3, they're all just fanfiction exclusive. That is why a lot of book deals come out of Wattpad. There are original novels from Wattpad that get book deals every so often, but I'm talking about the fanfictions that do. And it's not the good fanfictions that get picked or chosen, because movie deals and publishers, they choose what is popular. Anna Todd's Harry Styles fanfiction After had thousands, hundreds of thousands of views and likes and comments, and that is why she got the book deal. And that is why just last year, was it? Last year or the year before, a movie was made called After. And it's terrible. That movie is terrible. And you know why it's terrible? Because After started off as a self-insert fanfiction. The one thing you can give the Twilight fanfiction 50 Shades of Grey is that E.L. James was writing from the point of view of Bella. She was writing as Bella, falling for Edward, BDSM and all that stuff. Weird, but she was writing Bella. After, Anna Todd was writing... She didn't call it Anna, I don't think she did, but with stuff where it comes with celebrities in a fanfiction, it is very obviously a self-insert, or a character that is so blank that the reader is able to put themselves into that character's shoes. And that's the purpose of a lot of fanfictions, and that's why those fanfictions are so popular, because a story like After, a teen girl can read it and imagine that she is the main character who Harry Styles falls in love with, and that is why the character is such a blank fucking slate. There's no personality, there's no anything, so that you can put yourself into that character's shoes and feel like Harry Styles is falling in love with you. And that is not good book fodder, because when you read a book, this character then becomes an empty slate. And all of a sudden, you're not reading a fan fiction where you're putting yourself into the shoes of a character who Harry Styles is falling in love with. You're trying to relate to a character that has no personality, that is falling for some asshole guy who's not Harry Styles, and it all of a sudden doesn't read the same. I didn't think it read the same from the start, but I don't like Harry Styles, so I couldn't read a fanfiction and get excited because I thought he was falling in love with me, so it didn't work for me. And so after it became a movie, and I don't know if it's rated terribly, but I know the teen populace loved it because they put themselves into the character's shoes in the movie, and that's not really what a movie's supposed to be. A movie is supposed to tell a story, not kind of give you events that you're supposed to insert yourself into. But a lot of media, particularly for teenagers these days, is exactly that. Because of the popularity of After, Netflix started making movies from stories off Wattpad. The Kissing Booth and The Kissing Booth 2 are based off a Wattpad story, and those are horrendous. The main character, Elle, is an absolute mess. She is the true villain of both of the movies. And everyone's just like, oh my god, I want to be like Elle, and I want to have the guy's called Noah in my life. And it's so vapid, and it's so just terrible, and I think it's an insult to our teenage populace that this is the movies and the books that are getting attention. And the reason that they're getting attention is because the teenagers love it. The teenagers, they eat it up. They're just, they crave it. But of course Netflix is well known for making terrible movies that are original from them, like Tall Girl, Sierra Burgess is a Loser, friggin' Secret Obsession. All of them are terrible. I think that's pretty common knowledge by now. But The Kissing Booth and The Kissing Booth 2 stands out because you watch it and you think, oh my god, this is like a story off Wattpad. And then you look it up and it was a story off Wattpad. And you're like, yeah, that makes sense. And then Penguin Publishing last year did a sort of promotion thing where they were picking books off Wattpad and making them into actual books. They were publishing them for the authors, and they said that they were trying to find unique stories. And the first one I found was called The QB Boy and Me or something like that, and it was like The Quarterback and Me, and I read the blurb and it was about a teenager and a quarterback who hate each other and then they fall in love or some shit like that, and you're like, oh my god, that is like every other fucking thing that is out right now for teenage girls. And I'm all for using sites like Wattpad to find something good, because as I say, there is a diamond in the rough, but they don't care about trying to dig through and find something good. They just find something that has thousands and thousands of likes and views, and like, that'll bring us people in, that'll get people watching or people reading, and that'll get us the sales and the money that we want. And of course the teenagers fall for it, and it's just, it makes me sad because it means that original storytelling is like dying on its ass. For teenagers anyway. And I'm not going to sit and be like, oh, I was different as a teenager, I didn't fall for that shit. I read Josh Hutcherson fanfiction like it was going out of fashion when I was younger. I even wrote a load of it myself. So I'm not sitting here saying I'm any different. But, and there is a part of me that is slightly bitter that I worked so hard on a book that, yeah, isn't perfect, but is never going to reach the level or even have the chance to reach the level of popularity as this trash of misunderstandings and teenage fucking bullshit in high school of like falling in love but cheating and going to college and not knowing what to do and just terribly written stuff. And apparently after Harry Styles in the After fanfiction was abusive as hell, and it's even worse in the movie, and it's the usual, oh, the popular kids bet that he couldn't get the loser girl to fall in love with him shit. Like, I've seen that 100 times, and you know what I've seen 100 times? Fanfiction websites. You know why it stays on fanfiction websites? Because it's terrible and it's superficial and it's not good storytelling. And I'm not going to sit here and say that my book is like unique storytelling at its best and, you know, it's like the most interesting and different thing out there, and I thought outside the box for every single line I wrote, because obviously that's not the case. And I tried, at least. Half the time these books that are on Wattpad that get published are like, they like someone to slap all the cliches and just merged it in together, and people fall for it. And that depresses me so badly. And of course, after it was so popular, it's getting a sequel movie, and Anna Todd is doing perfectly well with her other books that she's writing. I don't think she writes on Wattpad anymore. You know, fuck her roots. Now she's got a book deal, now she's got a publisher. She doesn't need those little guys on Wattpad anymore. I'm going to say I could be wrong on that, because she could still be writing on Wattpad, so if she is, just ignore that bitter rant there. But yeah, it's just like people who aren't trying are getting attention, and it's frustrating. There's probably people who will comment down below saying, oh, I think After is the best thing since sliced bread. I think it's so original and written so well, and you know what? If you think that, I'm happy for you. I am ecstatic. Clearly you can see something in those books that I can't, that makes you think that it deserved the attention that it got. But I will probably still remain bitter and sad. And people will probably say that I say all this about these books because I'm bitter and sad, and maybe that is part of the case, but I still think that these books are terrible and they don't deserve the attention they get, and they don't deserve to be made into movies, and these authors don't deserve their book deals. There is a story somewhere on fanfiction.net, on Wattpad, on AO3 that would be a blockbuster and would be a best-selling series and would be unique and interesting and would draw in all kinds of audiences. But because it doesn't have hundreds and thousands of likes and comments and isn't guaranteed to bring in the money and the viewership that the big companies want, it'll never get done. It'll never get seen. And it'll never become popular. And that is just the world we live in. It's tragic. And it's upsetting, but it's true. Wow, that was a depressing end. Anyway guys, since I mentioned it in the video, you can buy my book The Seven on Amazon, Waterstones.com, BarnesandNoble.com, wherever sells books. Pretty much online at the minute because COVID. And I'd love to if you bought it. Let me know what you think if you do. Don't do any of that if you don't want to. I don't want you to do any of that if you don't want to do any of that. Same with going to my socials, which are down below. But you know, you can if you want to. I write updates about my videos and stuff on Twitter, so it's up to you. But I'll see you next time, guys. What do you think? Do you like the kissing booth and After and stuff like that, or do you think the same as me? Let me know down below. I usually respond to all comments because I'm not popular enough to be unable to keep up. So let me know down below, and I'll see you next time, guys.